There comes a time when the mask slips, when the illusions fade, and when the truth becomes undeniable. It may not happen when you expect it, and it may not come in the way you imagined, but when someone is built on lies, deception, and manipulation, that foundation always crumbles. You don't have to force it. You don't have to chase down answers. The truth always finds a way to reveal itself. In the beginning, you might not see it. Narcissists are masterful at distorting reality, making you second-guess yourself, twisting your emotions until you no longer trust your own perception. They pull you into a world where you start accepting less, believing their words over your intuition, and questioning whether the pain you feel is real. And that's exactly how they maintain control, by keeping you in a state of uncertainty. But no matter how deep the deception runs, light always breaks through the darkness. It starts with small moments, something they say that doesn't add up, a contradiction that lingers in your mind, or a gut feeling that refuses to be silenced. These are not coincidences. They are signs. When something isn't right for your life, the universe will keep sending you clues until you listen. But that's the challenge, isn't it? Sometimes you don't want to see the truth because accepting it means change. It means stepping into the unknown, walking away from what's familiar, and facing the reality that someone you trusted was never who they pretended to be. But what if that truth is the very thing setting you free? What if the heartbreak, the disappointment, and the betrayal are all part of a bigger plan? Because here's what most people don't realize. Every painful revelation is a gift in disguise. It's not there to destroy you. It's there to wake you up, to remove the blinders, to break the chains. The moment you see the truth, you take back your power. The moment you acknowledge the reality of who they are, you stop giving them control over your emotions, your mind, and your future. There is a reason deception never lasts forever. There is a reason lies eventually unraveled. No one escapes the truth, no matter how carefully they try to conceal it. And when you stop resisting what is being revealed to you, everything starts to shift. You no longer make excuses for their behavior. You no longer tolerate the disrespect, the gaslighting, or the cycles of manipulation. You stop holding on to the version of them that never really existed, and you start embracing the version of yourself that is ready to rise. This is not the end of your story. This is the moment your real story begins. Because when the truth is exposed, you have a choice. You can stay in the pain, clinging to what was, or you can step into the strength that was within you all along. The truth may hurt, but it will never break you. The truth may shake your world, but only so something stronger can be built in its place. This is your awakening. This is your freedom. And when you finally see things for what they are, nothing and no one can take that away from you. It's easy to feel stuck when you've been used, manipulated, and broken by someone who never truly valued you. You wonder why it happened, why you allowed it, and why you stayed longer than you should have. You question yourself, replaying moments over and over, trying to understand what went wrong. But what if nothing went wrong? What if instead of being trapped in pain, you were actually being positioned for something greater? There are no accidents. Every person who comes into your life serves a purpose, even the ones who hurt you. They are not a punishment. They are a lesson, a test, a mirror reflecting back what you need to see. They show you your blind spots, your weaknesses, the wounds you haven't yet healed. They push you to recognize your worth by first making you feel like you have none. And as painful as that realization is, it's necessary because without contrast, you wouldn't know the power that's inside you. Without betrayal, you wouldn't know the value of trust. Without being drained, you wouldn't recognize the importance of protecting your energy. When someone toxic enters your life, it's not a coincidence. It's a wake-up call, a chance to break patterns, to rise above cycles that no longer serve you. And when the time comes for you to move forward, the shift begins. The universe starts creating distance, the connection weakens, situations arise that force you to see the truth. And even when you try to hold on, things start slipping through your fingers. Not to punish you, but to redirect you. You are not losing them. You are being freed from them. But here's where most people struggle. letting go. Because walking away from a narcissist isn't just about leaving a person, it's about shedding a version of yourself that accepted less than you deserve. It's about breaking free from the illusions, the false hope, the belief that if you had just done something differently, things would have changed. No, it was never about you fixing them. It was about you finding yourself again. And when you do, everything changes. You start attracting different people, different energy, different opportunities. You no longer tolerate disrespect disguised as love. You no longer crave validation from someone who is never capable of giving it. You step into a new version of yourself, stronger, wiser, unstoppable. This is what it means to be positioned for something greater. You had to go through it to grow through it. You had to lose them to find you. You had to experience the darkness to recognize your own light. So if you feel like everything is falling apart, understand this: nothing is falling apart. Everything is falling into place. The life meant for you is waiting. But first you have to step forward and claim it. Rejection hurts. There's no way around it. When someone you gave your time, your love, and your trust to turns their back on you, it feels personal. It feels like you weren't enough, like you failed, like you somehow lost something valuable. But what if rejection isn't a loss at all? What if it's protection? What if every door that closes, every person who walks away, and every painful goodbye is actually the universe pulling you away from something that was never meant for you? Think about it. How many times have you wanted something so badly only to later realize it would have destroyed you? How many people have you chased only to look back and feel grateful they never stayed? The truth is, when a narcissist uses and discards you, it may feel like a betrayal, but it's actually divine intervention. You weren't abandoned. You were saved. You weren't thrown away. You were set free. A narcissist doesn't love. They control. They manipulate. They take everything you have to give and then discard you when you no longer serve their needs. And as much as that feels cruel, it's actually a blessing, because imagine if they stayed. Imagine if you kept sacrificing your happiness, your self-worth, and your peace just to keep them satisfied. You would have lost yourself completely. You would have spent your life walking on eggshells, trying to be enough for someone who was never capable of appreciating you. That is not love. That is not where you belong. So when they leave, let them. When they choose someone else, let them. When they try to make you feel like you were never good enough, remind yourself that they never had the power to define your worth. You don't need them to validate you. You don't need their approval to be whole. You were whole before they came, and you will be even stronger now that they're gone. Rejection stings, but regret is worse. And the greatest regret is staying where you were never truly valued. You may not see it now, but one day you'll look back and understand why things had to happen this way. You'll see that their absence created space for something better. You'll realize that losing them was never a curse. It was the greatest act of protection you could have ever received. So stand tall. Don't beg for love. Don't chase people who have already shown you they don't deserve you. When the wrong people exit your life, the right ones finally have room to enter. What is meant for you will never require you to shrink yourself, to betray yourself, or to settle for less than you deserve. Let them go, because what's coming is greater than anything you've lost. Pain is a teacher. It may not be the teacher you wanted, but it's often the one you need the most. When a narcissist enters your life, they don't come to love you. They come to expose the wounds you haven't healed, the boundaries you haven't set, and the self-worth you haven't set, and the self-worth you have yet to fully embrace. And that's why it hurts so much, because they force you to confront the parts of yourself that you ignored for too long. At first, it feels unfair. You wonder why you had to go through this, why someone could be so cruel, why you gave so much only to be left empty. But what if this experience wasn't meant to break you? What if it was meant to build you? What if everything you've endured was preparing you for a version of yourself that you wouldn't have stepped into otherwise? The pain of being used and manipulated is not just about what they did to you. It's about what it awakens within you. It teaches you to listen to your intuition, to recognize red flags, to trust your gut when something feels off. It forces you to see where you've settled, where you've ignored your needs, where you've given more love to others than you've given to yourself. It's a wake-up call, a loud, undeniable signal that you are meant for more. And when you finally learn the lesson, something shifts. You stop chasing approval from people who will never give it. You stop making excuses for toxic behavior. You stop believing that love requires suffering. Instead, you start choosing yourself. You start setting standards that honor your worth. You start walking away from anything that doesn't align with your peace. And when you do that, everything changes. The people you attract, the way you see yourself, the way you move through life, it all transforms. Pain is temporary, but the lessons it teaches you last forever. You may not see it now, but one day you'll look back and realize that this was the moment you woke up. This was the moment you stopped accepting less. This was the moment you took your power back. And when that day comes, you won't feel bitterness. You won't feel anger. You'll feel gratitude. Because you'll finally understand that this wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of something greater. There comes a moment when you realize that everything you went through wasn't just about pain, it was about preparation. The heartbreak, the betrayal, the feeling of being discarded like you never mattered. It wasn't meant to destroy you, it was meant to awaken you. Because the truth is, you were never meant to stay small. You were never meant to live a life where you constantly question your worth, begging for love from someone incapable of giving it. You were meant to rise. And sometimes rising means being broken first. When a narcissist enters your life, they don't just take your time, your energy, and your love. They force you to confront yourself. They strip away the illusions, the false beliefs, the patterns that have kept you stuck for far too long. They make you face the truth. That you have always been stronger than you thought. That you have always deserved more than what you settled for. And that you were never created to be at the mercy of someone else's validation. And when the pain has done its job, when it has pushed you, tested you, and stretched you beyond what you thought you could endure, that's when transformation begins. That's when you start seeing yourself differently. That's when you stop allowing broken people to define your worth. You step into a new level of power, one that is no longer built on the need for approval, but on an unshakable knowing of who you are. Because here's the truth. You didn't lose them, they lost you. And the reason they lost you is because you were never meant to stay in a place that diminished you. You were never meant to live in the shadows, suppressing your light just to keep someone else comfortable. You were meant for something greater. And when you finally embrace that, when you stop looking back and start moving forward, you realize that everything, the betrayal, the manipulation, the pain, was shaping you into the person you were always destined to be. The people who tried to break you will never understand the fire they ignited in you. They will never see how their actions propelled you toward your purpose. But that doesn't matter, because your life is no longer about proving your worth to them. It's about stepping into the greatness that was waiting for you all along. It's about walking with confidence, knowing that the same pain that once made you question your value has now made you unstoppable. This is your moment. This is where your real story begins. Not as a victim, not as someone who was used and discarded, but as someone who turned pain into power, who turned rejection into redirection, who took every scar and used it as fuel to build an extraordinary life. Because that's what you were always meant for, something extraordinary. And now, nothing can stop you. There comes a time in your life when you realize that some people were never meant to stay. They were never meant to be your forever. They were only meant to be a lesson. The narcissist who used you, manipulated you, and made you feel like you were never enough was never supposed to be your final destination. They were a test to see if you would finally choose yourself. A test to see if you would break free from the cycle of seeking love in places where it never truly existed. A test to see if you would finally step into your power and say, enough. The moment you walk away, the moment you stop trying to make something work that was never meant to, the universe begins shifting things in your favor. And it's almost as if the weight that was holding you down is suddenly lifted and new doors start opening. Why? Because you were never meant to live in a world where love is conditional, where kindness is manipulation, where your worth is based on how much you can endure. You were meant for real love, for true connection, for relationships that build you up rather than break you down. But sometimes you have to lose everything that was wrong for you before you can find what is right. That's why the pain had to happen. That's why you had to experience the darkness so that you could finally recognize the light. That's why you had to go through the heartbreak so that you could understand what real love is and what it isn't. The version of you that tolerated the narcissist is not the version of you that will step into the next level of your life. That version of you had to go. And now, here you are, stronger, wiser, more aware, no longer willing to accept less than you deserve, no longer willing to shrink yourself just to keep someone else comfortable. And that's why the right things are coming, because you are finally ready for them. Because you are no longer standing in your own way. Because you have learned the lesson and are now prepared to receive the blessings that were always meant for you. There is no mistake in what happened. There is no coincidence in who walked away. Everything was leading you here, to this moment, to this realization, to this transformation. So don't mourn what you lost. Celebrate what you've gained. Don't waste another second wishing things had turned out differently. Trust that what's ahead of you is greater than anything you left behind. And when you step into that future with confidence, you'll understand that every painful experience, every moment of self-doubt, every tear you shed was shaping you for something incredible. You are no longer the person who was once broken by a narcissist's lies. You are the person who rose above them, who turned that pain into power, and who is now walking into a life of true abundance. And nothing, not the past, not the people who hurt you, not even your own doubts, can stop you now. There comes a moment when you realize that nothing was ever taken from you, only revealed to you. The narcissist who used and abused you may have made you feel like you lost something precious. Maybe they made you believe that without them you were nothing, that you were unworthy, that you had to fight, beg, and prove your value just to be seen. But the truth is, you didn't lose anything real. You lost a lie that was never meant to last, and as painful as it was the best thing that could have ever happened to you, because when the wrong people leave your life, the right things start to fall into place. When you stop chasing after love that only hurts you, you make space for the love that heals you. When you stop wasting your energy on people who only drain you, you allow yourself to be surrounded by those who uplift you. What felt like rejection was actually protection. What seemed like abandonment was actually an answered prayer. You just couldn't see it yet. Sometimes God removes people from your life, not as punishment, but as preparation. You were never meant to stay in a place where you had to question your worth. You were never meant to live in a cycle of pain, manipulation, and emotional exhaustion. But you wouldn't have left on your own, would you? You would have kept holding on, hoping they'd change, hoping things would get better, hoping that one day they'd finally give you the love you deserved. And that's why the situation had to get as bad as it did. That's why the mask had to fall off. That's why you had to see them for who they truly were so that you could finally let go. And now, look at you. No longer waiting for someone to validate you. No longer seeking love from people who don't even know how to love themselves. No longer willing to settle for anything less than what you deserve. That's not a loss. That's a victory. That's growth. That's transformation. And when you finally understand that, you stop grieving what left and start welcoming what's coming. You stop looking back with regret and start looking forward with excitement, because your future is not a continuation of your past. It's a new beginning, a fresh start, a chance to build a life that is no longer based on pain, but on purpose. The people who walked away were never meant to stay. The relationships that crumbled were never built to last. And now you are free. Free to love yourself fully, free to live without fear, free to create a life that is no longer dictated by someone else's manipulation, but by your own power. And when you step into that freedom, you will see what you thought was a curse was actually the greatest blessing of your life. There are moments in life when you wonder why you had to go through so much pain. Why did you have to endure the lies, the manipulation, the emotional abuse? Why did you have to give so much of yourself only to be left feeling empty and broken? But what if that pain wasn't a punishment? What if it was a preparation? What if every tear you shed was watering the seeds of the person you were meant to become? When a narcissist enters your life, they don't just bring chaos, they reveal truth. They expose the wounds you never knew you had. They bring to light the places within you that needed healing. Maybe you had doubts about your worth and they played on that. Maybe you struggled to set boundaries and they exploited that. Maybe you believed love was something you had to earn and they made you chase it until you were exhausted. But here's what you must understand. The pain wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to awaken you. It was meant to show you what needed to change so that you could finally break free. And now you see that love is not supposed to feel like suffering. You see that you were never meant to live in a constant state of fear and self-doubt. You see that the person who made you question your worth was never worthy of you. And because of that, you are no longer the same. You are wiser, stronger, unshakable. You now know what to allow and what to walk away from. You now recognize manipulation the moment it appears. You now understand that your worth is not based on how much you can endure, but on how much you can love yourself enough to let go of what no longer serves you. That is why this had to happen. That is why this chapter in your life had to exist, because without it, you wouldn't have discovered the strength you carry. You wouldn't have developed the clarity that now protects you. You wouldn't have unlocked the version of yourself that no longer tolerates anything less than respect, kindness, and true love. So don't curse the pain. Don't wish it away. Because it shaped you into someone, it refined you into someone who will never again settle for anything less than what you deserve. The person who walked into that relationship is not the same person walking out. And that, more than anything, is proof that you have won. You are no longer a victim of what happened. You are a victor over it. And that is something no one can ever take from you. There comes a time when everything you've been through starts to make sense. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the manipulation, it all felt like it was breaking you, but in reality, it was shaping you. You thought you were losing yourself, but you were actually being refined. Every painful experience was a lesson. Every tear was a release, And every moment of suffering was preparing you for something greater. When a narcissist uses and abuses you, it may feel like your world is falling apart. You question why you had to go through such cruelty, why someone you trusted could be so selfish, why love turned into pain. But what if you weren't just going through it? What if you were growing through it? What if this was never about breaking you down, but about making you unshakable? The storm didn't come to destroy you. It came to clear your path. It came to wash away everything and everyone that was never meant for your future. It came to teach you the value of peace, the importance of self-respect, and the power of letting go. Now you stand at the threshold of a new life. You've walked through the fire, and you didn't just survive, you emerged stronger. The person who once doubted their worth now knows they are more than enough. The one who tolerated disrespect now demands nothing less than honor. The one who clung to toxic love now understands that real love never requires suffering. This is your transformation. This is your rebirth. And when you look back, you won't see yourself as a victim of someone else's selfishness. You will see yourself as someone who refused to be destroyed. You will see a warrior who took their pain and turned it into power. You will see a soul that refused to be dimmed by someone else's darkness. The person who hurt you is no longer in control of your story. You are. You hold the pen. You decide what happens next. So take this pain and use it. Use it to fuel your purpose. Use it to inspire others. Use it to create a life so full, so powerful, so aligned with your truth that nothing and no one can ever shake you again. Because the greatest act of victory is not just moving on, it's rising so high that what once tried to break you can no longer reach you, and that is exactly what you are meant to do. There is a moment in life when you realize that everything you endured was never meant to destroy you, it was meant to awaken you. Every tear you shed, every sleepless night, every moment you felt unworthy was not the end of your story, it was the beginning of a new version of you. A version that is no longer blind to manipulation. A version that no longer bends to the will of those who thrive on control. A version that has learned, healed, and risen above what was meant to break you. The truth is, the person who used and abused you did not win. They may have taken your time. They may have drained your energy, but they did not take your soul. They did not take your power. Because you still stand, you still breathe, you still have the ability to rebuild. And not just rebuild, but to create a life so full of peace, love, and strength that they become nothing more than a lesson from your past. You see, God does not abandon you in the storm. He walks with you through it. He does not let you drown in the pain. He teaches you how to swim. He does not allow destruction without purpose. He allows transformation. Every trial, every hardship, every heartbreak was refining you, was molding you into someone unshakable. It was stripping away the parts of you that settled for less, that accepted the bare minimum, that believed love had to hurt. And now you see that love is not supposed to be suffering. You see that your worth was never in question. You see that you were not put on this earth to be used, but to be cherished. And now the choice is yours. Do you allow what happened to define you, or do you allow it to empower you? Do you let bitterness consume you, or do you use it as fuel to rise even higher? Do you stay in the past, reliving the pain, or do you step into the future where freedom, joy, and peace are waiting for you? Because the most powerful thing you can do is not just survive the storm, it's to come out of it stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. So walk forward with your head high. Walk forward with the certainty that you are not what you went through. You are who you became because of it. The narcissist may have tried to break you, but they only revealed your true strength. And that strength will carry you into a life where you are no longer a prisoner of the past, but a warrior of your own destiny. You are free, you are whole, and you are ready to live the life you were always meant for